So I am so excited to have Peggy Jaeger with us tonight. She is an award-winning romance author, and she writes stories about strong women, the families who support them, and the men who can't live without them. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Peggy.
Thank you. It's my pleasure, believe me. I will need to share my screen. I am doing a presentation on why I think it's a great marketing tool for you to use if you're an author to enter contests. So the biggest thing you need to ask yourself is in the beginning, if you ever consider entering a contest, why would you? Don't say to win because everybody wants to win. We all want to win a contest. We all want to be number one. We all want to be liked. What you should be saying is you want feedback on your story. You want to find new readers. You want to get your work in front of librarians or anybody that's new to you to read it. You want to improve your writing skills, and the ultimate Cinderella goal would be to get a publishing contract. So those are good reasons why you would want to enter any kind of a writing contest, be it for romance, short stories, fiction, nonfiction, memoirs, any of those things. So I always ask this question whenever I do this presentation. Are you thinking about entering your work in a contest, but you don't know where to begin? Are you looking for a publishing contract? Do you want to be traditionally published? And are you sick and tired of writing query letters? I've written over 500 query letters in my career, and I got a little sick at about 492. I have to be honest. Many, many letters. Are you looking for feedback on your writing from professional people and not just your critique partners? I have belonged to many writing groups, except for my writing group in RWA. 99% of the people in those groups were unpublished. So I don't want this to sound snarky, but I really wanted somebody who had a cachet behind them, somebody who knew what it would take to get published, somebody who could tell me whether my writing was any good. You know, your grandmother and your best friend and your neighbor down the street, they're always going to say nice things about you. Your critique partners hopefully won't be as nice, but they'll be truthful. But if you enter a contest, you've got people that don't know you from Adam, which is really good. If you've asked yourself any of those questions, this workshop is going to be for you because in the 10 years I've been writing, I've entered almost 100 contests. It's actually 105 as of this year. As in those 10 years, I've won 17. Came in second or third 12 times. So if you're a betting person, I've win, placed, and showed over 29 times. I've finaled in 20 more. I received honorable mention in 5 more. So when you do the math, more than half of the contests that I entered, I've won, placed, showed, or had some kind of a mention, which is really, in the world of contests, pretty decent. This is just a very selfish picture. This is my office. This is the walkway up into my office, and I have some of my winnings on display because it gives me a lot of motivation when I walk up here every day when imposter syndrome rolls around, and I think, okay, I've done okay. I've won some nice awards, and this is my motivation for the day. Now, I said I've entered 100. It's 105 as of this year because this year alone, I've already entered these 5 contests. The Carolyn, the Hart Award, the Nest, the Holt, and the Necra. These are all contests that I have entered in the past. I've won a couple. I've done nothing in a couple. So, and they're very prestigious awards to win if you're a romance writer. So that's why I usually do enter these every year. Now, why am I still entering contests after I've had 10 years of publishing, over 60 books, and I've won a bunch? It's a very simple answer. I'm always looking for new readers. I'm always looking for new people who haven't read me before to maybe if they're judging a contest, they'll say, oh, I like this girl. I like what she's written. Let me go back and let me go to her Amazon page. Let me see what other books she's written. I don't know about you, but the economy is not great. I don't like paying for Facebook book ads, Amazon ads, BookBub. I tried to get a BookBub last month for my newest release that came out on Monday. And in my category, the cost was $975. I don't have $975 to waste on something like that. I do have $20 to enter a contest. So the other reason I like to enter contests is because I do a lot of book signings, big book signings, and I'm just one author in a big room. So this is another nice way to meet new readers. So you're going to learn tonight why entering a contest is easier than you think it is, why it's a good career move, in my opinion, which are the best contests to enter for the genre you're writing, and which have the best exposure, i.e. feedback, prizes, awards, and prestige. And prestige is always going to be that little pat on the back that you're going to get if anything happens. Which are the most expensive to enter? which are the cheapest and which are even free. And I've done a lot of free. Uh, um, I'm not, I don't like to call myself a cheapskate, but I am. Also, you're going to learn what you need to know before you submit. And, the hint for that is always going to be edit, 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 polish, polish, polish. Where you can find contests, let me go back to that, where you can find contests now. Okay, now I want to give a little teeny tiny backstory. The very first contest I ever entered was the Dixie Kane Solo Contest in 2013. It was a romance contest put on by the Southern Louisiana Romance Writers of America. At the time, I was going through the worst menopause Mother Nature had ever given a woman. I was sleeping 1 hour a night. I had terrible night sweats and I was miserable. So what I would do every night was I would get out of bed because I didn't want to keep my husband awake. And I would go up to my office and I had a little niggle of a story in the back of my mind. So I started writing it. I wrote every night from the hours of 1 to 5 for 3 months. In 3 months, I had a manuscript. I didn't know if it was any good. It was the first romance I had ever written, and I've been a lifelong romance reader. But I didn't know if it was any good because the market is volatile in romance and it changes every time you blink an eye. So I figured, how would I find people that could read this story and give me like an honest critique? I don't want to start querying agents and authors if it's not going to be worth anybody's while. So I did a Romance Writers of America search for contest, and I found SOLA, Southern Louisiana contest, and I entered it. And then truly I forgot about it. I was still, up every night. I was polishing the story, but I was writing stuff on my blog. I was doing all sorts of other things. I did try to query a couple of agents at the time, but I wasn't really confident anybody was going to get back to me. 5 months later, I received an email from the SOLA contest telling me that I had won. And the publisher of the Wild Rose Press was the final judge. She sent me a private email saying, could she see the complete manuscript? The contest was only the first 3 chapters that you had to enter. And I was like, after I scooped myself off the floor, like this says, and I stopped screaming and crying and hyperventilating and not being coherent, I sent in the manuscript because I had been polishing it, for those nights while I was writing and waiting. And in 2014, I decided to go to the RWA conference in San Antonio. While I was there, I happened to meet the person that I submitted to. Rhonda Penders gave me the name of one of her editors and one of her lines to submit to. And I hadn't heard anything, and it was fine. I figured they didn't want it, and that was okay. But I met her there, and she told me that she had submitted my publication, my book, for a contract. I was over the moon. My book was being published. I mean, that was the ultimate goal in entering a contest, that I was going to find somebody to tell me if it was any good. Obviously, it was good because this little indie press was going to publish it. 9 months later, this was my very first book that was published, Scator's Waltz. Now, funny story, 10 years later, that was the original cover. This past year, I got the rights back to my book and I rebranded it and republished it under my own branding lane. Let me go back there. I republished it under my own brand with a new cover. So that was like a Cinderella story. I entered a contest just to see if it was any good. 10 years later, I have my own Amazon page with over 60 books published. 2/3 of them are traditional. 1/3 is independent. So for me, it was a very strategic career move to enter that contest because it got me a traditional publisher, which turned me into an indie publisher along the line. And then now I'm referred to by the industry as a hybrid author. And by hybrid, don't confuse them with animals. It just means I'm traditionally published and independently published. So what does all this mean for you? Why do I think it's a good career move for you to enter a contest, and why would you go to the trouble? If you're an unpublished author, you get the benefit of an author critique, either from published authors, editors, agents, and librarians. Many contests are judged by librarians, and really, in my opinion, librarians are the gatekeepers to the publishing empires. People will say that's not true. It's the editors and the publishers themselves. I believe librarians are the gatekeepers, and I'll stand on that sword and die on it. For most writing contests that you enter, once the results are given, you will get your entry back with a critique on it, with a judging score. And most of them will tell you how you scored in each category, plot, character development, dialogue, stuff like that. And it'll show you where you may need to work a little bit before you start submitting to agents and editors. Maybe, you scored really high in plot development, but your dialogue is a little, limp, or all your characters sound the same. Or you scored really great in dialogue, but we need a little bit more exposition. So that's a really good thing. That's like a critique that, you're paying for it because you're paying an entry fee, but it's a really good critique. And you get practice in polishing your manuscript because the more critiques you get, the better you make the words. Oh. So this is my little Jane Austen picture that I love putting in here. She's writing out longhand, changing Pride and Prejudice and all the books that she got. That's the way I think about entering contests. Every time I get critiques back, I try to make it better. Now, for published authors, you get new readers, even if you don't win. For most contests, when you're a published author, they make you submit books or PDFs, like actual print books or PDFs, and you're going to have at least 5 judges in the first round read that, and that's 5 people that maybe never read you before. So even if you don't, win, plays, or show, if a judge liked what you read, they may go to your Amazon page and, start buying some of your books. You also get to introduce your work to industry professionals who might not otherwise see it. So if you're an indie author and you're not doing the agent, editor, publisher route, and you're entering a contest, well, you may have an agent be the final judge, or an editor, or a publisher. So this may get you that, Cinderella traditional publishing contract. You also get new readers. This is the best thing for me. I am always looking for new readers and the easiest way to get them. Now, so I think it's a lot easier than most people think to enter contests, but I'd like to discuss the reasons why people don't. And when I was putting this PowerPoint together, I asked a lot of my writer friends, had they entered contests, why they didn't. And these are the answers that I got. Number 1 is cost. It's too expensive. Number 1, they all have imposter syndrome, which, we all suffer from. We never think our work is good enough. But like I said, I entered my first contest just to see if it was good enough. You don't want your pride hurt if you don't win, place, or show. And I get that. You're too busy, or you think it's too much work to put it all together. And then you have to fill out the entry page and you have to make PDFs or docx's. There's a whole bunch of things you have to do to enter. So you're too busy to do that. You might not have a full manuscript yet, and that's okay. People don't understand that. It's okay if you don't. And I want to address those. Most contests do have fees. I look at it as a business expense because what I'm really paying for is a critique of my work, if nothing else. If I don't win, place, show, final, get an honorable mention, whatever else, it is a business expense for me. Imposter syndrome is real. And I had somebody tell me one day, you just need to get over it. I guess you wouldn't feel that you're an imposter if you won or you came in a defined place or, you got an honorable mention. So, I mean, that might help with that. Now, in my opinion, if you don't want your pride to be bruised, you're in the wrong profession because I'll tell you, have you read any of my reviews lately? I've got some fabulous reviews and I got a couple of 1 stars and a couple of DNFs on all my books. You got to have a thick hide if you're an author. Most contests that you enter do require the first 3 chapters and a synopsis. So you have to get really good at writing synopses. Many are cover contests, and that's usually for the published authors. Some are blurb contests. My local chapter, my New Hampshire Romance Writers of America chapter last year, as a fundraiser, we did a blurb contest. So you just had to submit your blurb of the book that you were working on, and it got critiqued. It was great, and we had 3 first, second, and third place winners, and they all got their blurbs shown to industry professionals, and they got critiques from them. So that was really nice. You really don't have to. If you're right now an unpublished author and you're putting a great deal of work into querying agents and editors, you're doing the work anyway. What's one more step to do it into a contest? So I just think that excuse is dumb. Now, entering a contest is not a hard thing to do. I want everybody to understand that. Excuse me while I take a drink. The number 1 reason people don't enter contests is because they think it's hard. It's not hard. You just need a completed manuscript or at least the first 3 chapters. The first 3 chapters are very important anyway, because if you were querying an agent, that's what they usually like to see, the first 25 pages or the first 3 chapters. So you want to polish them as well as you can. If you've got them polished and you're entering a contest, that's great. You really need organizational skills. I have a friend who enters a lot of contests and she does Google Sheets and spreadsheets. I don't do that. I'm old school. I write everything out longhand in a notebook, but my organizational skills are excellent. I always know what contests I've entered. I've got copies of the receipts for the entry fees that I've done, and I've written down what books I've entered. So you really need to be organized because you want to know if you're entering a contest now, you're not going to get any results back, any feedback back for at least 3 to 6 months. And I don't know about you, but I can't remember what I ate for breakfast yesterday, much less what contest I entered 3 to 6 months ago. You need a few bucks. Okay, maybe more than a few. You do need to do it, but like I said, again, it's a business expense. You really, really, in my opinion, have to have a desire to put yourself and your work out there to be judged by people you don't know. I said this before. Your grandmother, your neighbor down the block, your best friend, they're all going to tell you that you're the next big thing because they love you. That's really nice and it strokes your ego, but it's never going to help you sell books. You need to have people who have nothing invested in you judging your book based on a critique, based on a rubric of questions and stuff that they have to answer about plot, character, dialogue, stuff like that. So you really need somebody that doesn't know you to do that adequately. Okay? So those are the reasons why you should always do it. Now, where do you find them? There's many, many, many places. RWA used to have a magazine, now it's an e-zine, but you can still find if you're a member of Romance Writers of America, every month they put out a monthly magazine, or it's an e-zine now. And every month in that magazine, they have all of their chapters that are having contests. Remember, I told you the very first one I ever entered was from the Southern Louisiana, the NOLA, the SOLA, Southern Louisiana Romance Writers Contest, the SOLA. So I found that in RWA. So every month they have a listing of the contests. It tells you what they require, how much it costs, where to send your submission, how to send your submission, PDF, docx, docs. You can do a Google search, and we're going to go into the Google search. You can, if you're a subscriber to Writer's Digest, either the magazine or the e-zine, every year they put out an issue that gives you the best contests in their view around the world for every type of fiction and nonfiction. And you can also get the writer's market. Now, the writer's market used to be this really thick, like 1,000-page book that would cost $25. It was probably 40 the last time I bought it. Now you can do it online. It's a lot easier. It's cheaper. It's free. But the writer's market is another good way to find contests. They have a whole section devoted to it. Now, if you do want to enter a contest, again, I want to make sure it's for the right reasons. You want feedback, you want to get your stuff in front of professionals, and you want a constructive critique of your story. It is not to win. If you think you're a shoo-in, here's a hint you're not. If you expect everybody to like your work, like I said, here's a hint, not everybody will. If you only want to get a monetary prize or the shiny stuff as a reward, that's the wrong reason to enter a contest, because 9 times out of 10, you're just going to lose money. You're not going to get anything. And I know that sounds harsh, but it's the reality. So we're going to talk about, this is my selfish thing again. These are a lot of the shiny awards that I've won. And, I like to put those in there just to give you a boost. If I can do it, you can do it. So how do you choose what contest to enter? This is important, and you really need to sit down and decide if you're writing romance, what genre you're in, lots of different things. You have to ask yourself all these questions. Is there an entry fee, or is it free? What are the prizes? Again, you don't want to enter it to win prizes, but if you're going to spend $50 on an entry fee, I would like first prize to be not a monetary prize, but I would like a professional editing. I entered a contest once and Kristen Higgins gave me a 20-page, I won it. I got a 20-page critique on my newest book. That was great. That was worth the money to me. Is there feedback? 99% of contests will send you a rubric of their scoring sheets that will tell you how each division was scored, how your dialogue, your characters, your arc, your storyline, your grammar, all that stuff. It's usually based on a 1 to 5 grade. So like if you're scoring all 5s, you should be winning. If you're scoring 2s and 1s, you got to do a little work. Also, you want to know who's judging that contest. Again, I love librarians. I love entering contests where librarians are judges. But readers, regular readers that read romance are a great judging category too. And what are your expectations? Before you ever spend a dime on a contest, please go over what your expectations are and don't think it's to win. Really, if you want to get a constructive critique and you want to know if your writing's any good, that's a really good expectation. Then you have to decide your genre. Contests are based on different things. Most romance writing contests will have 10 categories, and they will be contemporary romance, historical romance, Regency, romantic suspense, erotica, romantic fiction with, fiction with romantic elements. So you have to decide what your little manuscript fits into, what category. Paranormal, sci-fi, they're all divisions of romance. Okay, so you have to figure that out because you never want to send your entry to the wrong category. I don't write historical fiction. I am never going to submit my little small town friends to lovers contemporary romance to a Regency romance contest. They're going to send me my money back and laugh at me. I'm never going to do that. So decide your genre. Are you going to do an unpublished or a published author? Are you an unpublished or a published author? There's differences in what you submit between the two, and we're going to go into that. If you do an RNA, like I said, an RWA chapter contest, you will see every month the contests and the divisions of what they're accepting. But don't limit yourself to RWA. Really don't. Even if you just write romance, you can go to other magazines and other, like I said, do a Google search. So again, this is just an overview of some of the good contests for genre. If you write paranormal, fantasy, romantasy, and I should add that, or futuristic, Prism has a great fantasy PRW contest every month, and that's the website that's the link to get to it. It'll give you all the particulars of what you need to submit. And this is another one. Chanticleer Reviews does a paranormal awards. If you write paranormal, this is a great contest to enter. This is a fiction broad category. Many of you may have heard of the Chatelaine Awards. I know I'm not pronouncing it. I think it's Chatelaine Awards. It's a French word. They do a beautiful romantic fiction writing contest every year. I have never entered it. I'm a little intimidated because some of the people that have won are very recognizable names in the industry. And I'm still at that point in my life that I don't know that I want to compete with them. But if you don't have a problem with that, God bless you, and go ahead and enter your stuff in that one. And I just want to give you a word about RWA. Like I said, my very first contest was an RWA one. With the advent of the online format, though, for RWA, you can't find contests very easily on their website. I want to make it a little easier for you. If you're an RWA member, you sign into your account, and this is the page you get. You click on events, you do the drop down, and you can see it says chapter events. You click on a chapter events, and you get contests. And that's every month. They update it every single month. They used to do 2 months at a time. Now they only do 1 month at a time. But that's the easiest way, just to find out what's available for what you want to enter. Okay. Now for unpublished authors. This book pipeline, the very first contest I put up there, it's exclusively for unpublished manuscripts in 10 different categories. These are the categories. It's not all romance. Comics, general fiction, middle grade. If you write any of these things, this is an excellent contest to enter. You get unbelievable feedback from industry professionals in those categories, which is, what you're hoping for. The Right Life is another great, I want to say it's an app, but it's not. It's another great online writing contest. It covers like 40 different categories that you can enter of all different kinds of fiction, nonfiction, memoir, short story. They have speculative fiction, all different things like that. Funds for Writers is any kind of writing genre of anything, including poetry. Not many full writing contests will do short stories of poetry. So if that's your jam, this is a great one to enter. Just to click on it and find out what you need to do is a great idea. And then this Jerry Jenkins one is a very obscure writing contest, but it has contests in short story, novel length poetry, and they're all free. So if you're looking to dip your toe in the contest entry category, the Jerry Jenkins contest is a great one because it's free. You're not going to lose any money. And again, I told you before, I'm a cheapskate. So speaking of free, know that most, if not all, romance writing contests have entry fees. They range from $10 to $40, depending on the type of contest. Now, every year I enter the Holt Medallion, which is put on by the Virginia Romance Writers. That's $30 per entry, plus you have to send them 4 copies of your printed book. So this is for published authors. So you've already paid for the 4 copies of your book, and then you're sending $30 extra. So whatever you paid for your book has to get included in your expense for the $30. So say my books cost me $4 to print, 4 times 4 is 16. So this contest is already costing me $46 to enter, plus the shipping fees. So here's a little hint about that. I learned this very late in the game, but I pass it on all the time. Anytime you're entering a contest and you have to send books in the mail, do it under what they call media mail. I always go to the post office and I tell them, these are books. Please put it under media mail. It is the cheapest way you can ship anything. It has to be books, though, because the post office has the right to open up any package that if they're suspicious that it's not books. So you can't send books and swag or books and, like chapsticks or something like that. You have to just send books, but it's media mail. So that's just a little hint. Now, if you ever wanted to enter the Holt Medallion Award, that's the link down below there. And this is the night you get a beautiful medallion. I have a friend who won the Holt one year, and every time she goes to a book signing, she brings that medallion. And I'm like, you know what? She said to me, do you think I'm conceited? I said, no. If I won that award, I'd be wearing it around my neck all the time, anytime I was out in public. The Vivian, if anybody is a member of RWA, the Vivian replaced the Rita Award. They haven't had it in a couple of years because they've been restructuring the RWA. But the Vivian was $65 to enter in 2021. You were allowed to enter 2 books. They had to be online entries, so you didn't have to pay for your books. But if you wanted to enter 2 of your books, that's $130. That's a lot of money. And you got this nice award and you got a prestigious award, but that's a lot of money. It really is. So you have to think hard about that. Remember I said you have to consider what you want to do if you want to enter a contest. Now, most RWA chapters give an entry fee discount RWA members of that chapter. So if you're a member of, Virginia, your entry fee is cheaper than it would be for me because I'm a member of New Hampshire Romance Writers. So keep that in mind too. Non-members typically pay a higher entry fee. So just keep that in mind. Even if you're a member of RWA, you're a non-member of that chapter. So it's going to be a little bit more. It's usually like $5 or $10. It's not prohibitive, but every dollar counts. Now, this article, and then I know that Judith is recording this, so you guys can go back and rewatch this just to get the links. This article in Writer's Digest lists a bunch of free writing competitions, and again, not only in romance. I think it lists almost 150 different contests, which is great. Again, it covers all the divisions of romance, all the categories, all the genres, but it also does everything else. Memoirs, nonfiction, speculative, anime, all different kinds of things. The easiest way to find a contest is just do a Google search. Writing contest as your link, and then just go through and narrow it down as you go. So that's those are the contests you can enter. Now, how do you submit? What do you submit? For unpublished writers, the norm across all genres, romance, short stories, memoirs, all that, is typically the first 3 chapters and a synopsis. So like I said, you have to make those chapters shine. Shine, shine, shine. If you belong to a critique group, yay, let them read it, take their advice with a grain of salt. They're your words, you know what's best. But somebody can always pick up grammar or a misspelled word better than you can. Edit. I can't say this enough. Polish. I can't say that enough either. No typos. It's very important. I've judged a lot of contests just because I like doing it. I like finding new authors that way too. And if I find typos on the first page or the 3rd page or the 10th page or the last page, I get upset because if you're giving 3 chapters and you've read this thing 50,000 times and you've had other people read it and you've done spell check and you've done Grammarly and you've done Atticus, there should not be one single solitary typo. And with the typo are the misplaced words, like there, and there. If you mean there, like I'm going there for a walk, and you write THEIR, a judge is going to automatically mark you off. And that's a terrible thing to get marked off for, because you could have the greatest story since the Bible, and you're not going to get a good score because of that. So think about it. Typos are the worst thing in the world. Follow all the submission rules to the letter. Formatting. Usually it's in Times New Roman 12. That's the font. The size. Do they want a PDF? Do they want it in a docx? Do they want it in just a document? Follow it to the letter, because when the contest chair gets all these submissions in, the first thing she's going to check is to make sure that you sent the correct format. And if you didn't, your contest entry is going to be rejected. It hasn't happened to me because I'm a tourist and I'm very anal, but I have had friends that don't read, and they don't read guidelines because they think they know it all, and they've had their stuff, rejected, and then they're like, woe is me, and I have no sympathy, and that sounds terrible, but I don't, because the rules are there for a reason. You gotta follow them. Many contests don't want your name anywhere on the manuscript, and they'll say that in the guidelines. So make sure you don't have any headers and footers with your submission. Don't put the title on every page either. Usually they want a title page, that the contest chair will keep, and then they will send out with they'll assign a number to the entry, and they'll be the person that keeps what the title is and the person that submitted it. So make sure you don't have headers, footers, or titles. And I can't say this enough, follow the guidelines. Another thing that I like to tell people to do is if you're uncertain if you want to enter a contest, check out the past winners. Go to the website, go to the Virginia Romance Writers website. They have a drop down for a Holt medallion and they have all the past winners. See the kind of books that have won. See if if you're not certain if you have a rom-com or just a contemporary romance that has banter in it, that might not be look and see what they consider a rom-com. If the books that they're giving first prize to are laugh out loud, wet your pants books, and you don't have that, you might not want to enter that category. Maybe you just want to enter contemporary. Something to think about. Now, for people that are published, when you submit, you're usually asked to submit several copies of the completed manuscript, either in print, ebook, or PDF. When I upload a new book to KDP, I use Atticus as my formatting system. I always download the PDF, the e-copy, and a docx so that I have all 3 copies in my folder so that if I do enter a contest for that book, I have everything ready to go. Print copies are the most expensive way to enter a contest, and there are, most of them now are e-copies or PDFs, which is great for your bank book. But there are still a few of the sticklers, and the Holt medallion is one of them, where they want the actual book. They want to see the book. And the reason they do that, the final judges are readers, so the contest and you are gifting the book to the reader. And they want you to sign your books too. So that's like a little present for the reader. And I actually think it's nice. It's expensive, but it's nice. I mean, I've judged a couple of contests where I've gotten books by New York Times best-selling authors that are signed with them. And I'm like, hey, I didn't have to pay for this. It was great. So remember that. Sometimes for published authors, they ask for a CV. They're running a writing CV as well. So make sure yours is always up to date. There are 4 types of published author contests that you typically author. Number 1 is the kind where you enter a book that's already been published. The Holt medallion is one. The Book Buyer's Best, the BBC contest. I love the BBC. In all honesty, most RWA. This was my Book Buyer's Best. I had the top pick in 2019 for my book, Dearly Beloved, and that's the beautiful plaque they sent me. I was over the moon when that book won. I literally cried tears forever. And that's the BBB is put on by the Orange County chapter of Romance Writers of America. The second type is the type where already published authors submit their currently unpublished manuscripts. So if you're a published author and maybe you're an indie author and you don't have any plans to publish this book this year, you want to see how it does on the contest circuit, and you want to publish it, that's great. They usually have very strict rules, though, about this. You can't have contracted the book, so that means you can't have a traditional publisher. You really can't have an agent have it out on contract either, speculation rather. You haven't had a book published in the year of entry. I don't really like that rule, but I get it. So if you're like me and you put out 4 to 5 books a year and you want to submit your newest unpublished, I can't do that. I wouldn't be able to publish any books this year, and I don't want to do that. And it can't be a reprint of a previously published book, like say there was a traditional book that you got the rights back to. That's not considered unpublished. And again, most RWA chapters have contests like this. So you can, again, look in the drop down, you can find them. Another contest that's really good to enter if you're a published author is book covers. Uncaged Book Reviews holds the Raven Awards every year, where one of the awards, the top award, goes to the overall favorite. Now in 2020, my book, Dirty Damsels, my cover came in second out of like 5,000 entries, which was pretty cool. And I think it's a pretty hot book, but it came in, I just put the voting page on here, but it came in second. So I was very happy about that. And then the following year, my book, I had a finalist for Woke in the same category. So it's really cool to, when you get that again. Uncaged Book Reviews is a very big e-zine. So it's an online magazine that many readers who are not authors, they're readers, read. And that's how they get recommendations for new books. So to see a cover that won, they're like, hey, maybe I'll check this out. So it's good for sales. So that's the Raven Awards if you're a published author and you want to get your book in there. And the last one is reviewed books. Now, Uncaged Book Reviews and Unlight's Bookhaven, and the now unfortunately defunct Indie Tale magazine all did or do book reviews. For like Indie Detail, if your book garnered the cream of the crop in their reviews, you got what was called a golden heart, and that's a picture of it. Then your book went on to be a finalist in the Roan Awards, which was really nice. NN Light's Bookhaven book reviews. She's a wonderful marketer, and she does book reviews every month. She has a whole cadre of people that do them. And if your book gets a 5-star plus review, you're in the running to get like a Book of the Year award. So these are all good things to enter if you're a published author. They're not that expensive. I think Uncaged book reviews for a cover was $10. And then Light's Bookhaven last year, I think, was 15. That's cheap. And like I said, I'm just telling you, if you garnered a Crown Heart when Indie Magazine was around, you got to be a finalist in the Roan. I had a couple in the 2022 finalists, and then in 2023, I had 2 as well. This is a very prestigious award. So I'm almost done, I promise. I know you're getting sick of listening to me. Things I want you to think about, and I can't stress this enough. I had never entered a contest before that solo contest. During the time, I'd queried 40 agents and 25 publishers and been told no by all of them. Wild Rose Press wasn't one that I queried because I didn't really know about it. When I mentioned in the future that I had won that solo contest, I got another publishing contract from Limitless Publishing. They're the ones that published Dirty Damsels, that Raven Book Cover Award. So, I mean, mentioning a contest win, if you're querying publishers or agents or editors, is cachet. It really is. It's cachet in your pocket. Now, the internet is your friend when it comes to discovering if contests are legit. Everybody in the world that had a bad experience with a contest puts it on the internet. So if you're going to do a Google contest for a contest and you're not sure about the contest, go ahead and look online for bad reviews for that contest. Always, always, always know what you're entering. I typically prefer contests with readers or librarians as the final judges. Another reason I like librarians as a final judge, librarians are the ones that buy books for the library. So if they liked your book and they gave it a really hard score, when it comes time for them to purchase books for next year for the library under Hoopla or Libby or any of those things, your name is going to be in their mind. And believe it or not, people don't understand that. Libraries pay for books. They don't pay as much as, I would pay for a book if I bought it at a bookstore, but they do pay for books. So those are sales, and it's getting your book in front of people that you don't know. It's great. Now, contests with agents or editors who are the final judges are also excellent to enter if you are looking for a traditional publishing contract. If you're not, if you want to stay indie, any of those contests are fine. But if you really want to get into the traditional publishing world and it's gate kept by the agents and the editors, you have to know that, then you want to enter those contracts. So what have you got to lose? I just want to do one more final word and then I'm done. For published authors, I would like to put a word out for Goodreads giveaways. As a reader, I have a list of want to read books on Goodreads. I'm sure many people do. When the book is being offered as a giveaway, I always receive a notification and I always enter to win a copy. I've won books from all of these people. I've won Nora Roberts 3 times. I even just won J.D. Robb, her newest one that's coming out this year too. So the cost, it says I've done 8 Goodreads giveaways. Yeah. I've done 8 personally. I've done 8 Goodreads giveaways for books that I've published. Now, when Goodreads chooses the winners, to date, I've gotten 22 personal thank you letters in return from new readers who wrote to me and said, I never read you before. I won your book on a Goodreads giveaway. I loved it. I went back and I bought the rest of the books in the series. Nothing could make me happier than that. So this is really something you want to consider. Now, when I originally did this page, it says the cost is $99 for print or ebook as the base rate, $5.99 for premium. Right now, Goodreads is having a sale, $99 for ebook or print. So you are responsible for sending the winners the print books. If it's an ebook, because Goodreads is owned by Amazon, they choose the winners, they send all the copies. So you'd notice it on your KDP account. I woke up a couple of weeks ago and checked my KDP account and I had 100 books sold. I was like, wow, but why don't I have any royalties? And then I remembered this was the day that Goodreads chose the 100 winners. So you get reviews from it, you get thank you notes. It's always a good thing to do. Okay, that's just my little caveat. So that is the ending of this Let me get out of this. And should I unshare?
Yeah, I think you can go ahead and unshare now.
Okay, stop the share. And
And anyone who
let me
has a
let me find
question
you.
can unmute themselves and
Yeah.
ask,
I
or
know I
you can
talk a
put a
lot and I
question
talk
in
really.
the chat. I sent you a question in the chat, Peggy.
Okay, let
And
me look.
I
Sorry,
sent it to
sorry.
you because I didn't want everyone to know that I didn't know something.
Okay, I can't see it.
It says, what is a
One new
writing
message. Okay.
CV?
Oh, a writing CV. Okay. So you know when you go for a job,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you go for a job. They want your experience. They want to know where you went to school, what your first job is, what's your last job, what are you expecting for pay, what are your qualifications, what's your education. A writing CV lists all of the things that you've written and had published. Before I ever wrote a word of romantic fiction, I was a trade industry writer. I'm a nurse by trade. I had dozens and dozens of nursing articles published in various magazines over the years. So let me get out of this. This is like really weird. Screen. I want screen. Okay. I had dozens and dozens of articles published. Can you see me?
I can see you, but I can't see your
Okay.
screen.
Okay. You can't see my screen. That's what I mean. This is what's weird. I don't know why this is happening. All right, let me get out of this. Again, stop the share. Okay, now I can see you. Perfect. Can you see me now?
Yes.
Okay. So a writing CV lists everything you've ever had written that was published. So when I was querying agents, I had a 3-page writing CV of every article I had ever written, every short story. For a long time, I wrote mystery and suspense, and I had many, many short stories published in literary magazines. So I had to cite every single one of those. So it's just a way for the editor or the publisher to see that this is not your first boat, the first time you're on the boat. If you've got it. If you don't, it's okay. It's not a problem. But curriculum vitae is what I think it's called.
Okay, so does anybody have questions? You can either put them in the chat or you can ask them outright.
And I know I talk really fast, and I'm sorry about that. I wanted to make sure that we weren't here all night.
No, you covered so much information. That's absolutely wonderful. I don't know if anybody else was experiencing it
Thank you.
because we have a thunderstorm going on, and every
Oh,
once in a while you would pause and then it would catch up. So I don't know if I'm going to end up having to edit this before I put it up, or if I was the only one experiencing that. I don't know.
okay. I didn't have that, and I'm not having that with you. So I'm hopeful it didn't. Hi,
Yeah,
Shelley.
Hi.
so Shelley, did you experience the pausing also?
Yes.
Hmm. I might spend a long time editing.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. You know, technology is technology. What can we do about it?
Did it catch up though? Did it catch up?
It
Yes.
did.
Okay.
We never missed any words. Anyway, I didn't miss any words. It's just that there was a pause.
Okay, so it was like a 5-second delay in case I cursed or something. Okay, I get it.
Any questions? You covered everything so well, Peggy. I really appreciate this.
Thank you. It's really been, it was an excellent way for me to begin my romance writing career. It really was.
Well,
Like
you
I
know,
said,
I've never entered a contest, although I have been asked to uh, be a judge in a contest, and then it turned out that they didn't have enough entries to,
oh,
you know, to pull it off. So I didn't do that. But, you know, it was 10 years after I self-published my first novel, before you were talking about imposter syndrome,
yeah.
before I thought I'm just going to take the leap and submit this. I think it was Book Excellence Awards.
Oh,
And that debut
yeah, that's
novel,
a good one.
I was a finalist, and
Great.
you know,
That's
in
great.
historical romance, it shocked me. And then I had published another historical, self-published another historical, and so I submitted that one too. They were back-to-back years, and that also was a finalist. Uh, I have 2 contemporaries that I haven't submitted to anything because I don't plan on writing contemporary again. But I keep thinking to myself, I should probably get an award or a contest or something on those just so I can say I have them.
You know, again, that cachet is really good. For me, like I said at the beginning, I just wasn't certain it was any good. I've been a lifelong romance reader and I know what I like, but I didn't know that I was able to convey the same things on page well. So when I won that award, it really, really solidified in my mind, okay, this is what you're supposed to do. And here's a funny story about it too. When I won that award, I said to my husband, you know, when I submitted the pages to Rhonda Penders, when she asked for the manuscript, I said, you know, if I get a publishing contract out of this, I'm done. I'm not working anymore. And which you should never do. And he said, okay. Now I worked for my husband. You just have to know that. He said, okay. So when I got the publishing contest, I said, okay, I'm done. That's it. And he was like, what? I said, I told you when I got a publishing contest, I was done. This is what I want to do. This is what I think I'm meant to do. I was 55. I said, you know, I've waited my whole life to do this. It's my time now before I get any older. I want to take advantage of this. And it's been 10 years, 65 books, and 54 contest wins and stuff. So I think it's pretty good.
Okay,
So
so
Shelley's
Shelley is
asking.
asking if you've had a book out for a while. Oops, I lost it. Where'd it go?
Is it good to enter a contest? If yes, why not? There's no reason why you can't. And you know, here's the thing too. You don't only have to enter one book in one contest and be done with it. Those 5 contests that I've entered this year, the same 2 books are in each one of those contests. So you don't have, you're not limited. And you know, you can only enter one book in one contest. If you've got a book that's been out for 2 or 3 years and you know, you want to get some new blood for it, why not enter it? One thing you have to do though is when you go to the submission guidelines, make sure that it doesn't say the book has to have a publication date of so-and-so. So if you're submitting this year, most of the contests have to have a publication date of 2024. It's usually January 1 to December 31. Some contests won't have that, but make sure before you submit a book that's been out for a while that it doesn't have that, unless it was published last year, and then you're okay. That's something to consider.
Thank you.
That's great. Thank you very much for clarifying that. And that is an important thing to keep an eye out for. You know, it was just like with me submitting that book. It had been out for 10 years when I submitted it, so I wasn't really sure if I even should submit it, although I couldn't find anything that said I couldn't. So
well, here's the thing about historical. You don't have to worry about times changing. You know, you're in a certain era, you're okay. Contemporaries, yeah, you got, you know, 10 years is a lifetime. You know, the lexicon is different, the words are different, what's acceptable is different. Historical, you're never going to go wrong with 10 years. It's fine.
okay. Any other questions? Okay. If there's no more questions, we're going to wrap this up because we're getting close to the hour. Peggy, again, thank you so very much. I appreciate it.
You're more than welcome. Believe me,
and
it's my pleasure. I love doing this. It's my pleasure.
Yeah. And as if I don't really have any time to take anything else on, if you ever find a contest that is looking for a new judge, I would be more than happy to.
Well, no, if you go online to any of those, are you a member of RWA?
Yes.
Go on to the contest pages, like go to the contest page, click on any of the contests, go to the website. They always are looking for judges. There's always a drop down that says, if you want to be a judge, please, and it's usually a Google form that you fill out. Every contest on there is looking for judges.
That's nice to know.
It
So
is.
maybe some of the people here might want to be a judge, even if they haven't entered a
You get free books.
No?
You get some free books, and who knows, you may find your next favorite author.
Okay, that's right. All right. Well, thank you very much, Peggy. I appreciate this. It'll probably be the weekend before this gets put up on YouTube. I am going to go through and try and edit those little pauses out, but there were a lot. I mean, dozens and dozens. So
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Peggy and Paula.
Thank you so much. This was so much fun. Good luck, everybody.
Hi,